Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview for Villa's playoff second leg tie at Villa Park against Middlesbrough.
So then, Dan, it's only half time, to coin the cliche that we've heard since the first leg. How are you feeling about going into this second leg now on Tuesday night?
Good, to be honest. I feel better than I did going into the game on Saturday. Obviously, it was a trip into the absolute unknown for us, and I must say, having been at the game, the fact that it was the playoffs is like nothing I've ever experienced at a football match. Everything just felt different. The pressure felt on. It was really nervy, especially when we spent the whole of the second half basically camped in our own half defending. There was just something weird in the air. The fact that it was playoffs, and this is really new to us. But obviously we went there and got the result and have put ourselves in a position now where even if we draw, we go through. So we're in a strong position, but as we all know, it's far from over.
Was Bruce's phrase of "you can smell the hot dogs"? Did that ring true at the Riverside?
I don't know whether you could smell the hot dogs, but you could smell something. It was, as I say, it was just really, really strange. Like by the end of the game, I felt emotionally drained, and felt like I was shaking. At the end, obviously, me and Tom went there to do some recording, and that video will probably be out on Villa's media at some point in the next few days. But I think I probably look like I've seen a ghost at the end of it, because I was just so uptight. And although I never felt Middlesbrough, they had a lot of the ball. I felt we defended very, very well. That last 10 minutes, especially when we were just defending, it was a real tough watch, but a great result and a really good team performance. You could see the resilience, and collectively we played really well as a team.
Jack Grealish got the Sky Bet man of the match for the game. Was he the player that stood out to you as being our best performer?
I mean, going forward, it's always him that looks like he's the main one that's going to make things happen. I mean, he had that run in the first half, shades of Maradona, I thought, as he was bounding his way through. I mean, he got hacked at 3 times, stayed on his feet, got himself into the penalty box, and it was just unfortunate that didn't materialise into anything. But if I had to pick a man of the match, to be fair, it would have to be Hutton, because I just think he did such a job on Traoré. I mean, it's only half time, as we know, but if we can keep him quiet again, we'll have a very good chance, because everything they tried to do was through him. A bit like us with Grealish, we put most things through Grealish. It felt like Middlesbrough were looking for Traoré every time, and Hutton, it wasn't just Hutton, although I think he was man of the match. There was other people around. We got bodies around Traoré, limited his space. I mean, he's such a unit. Sometimes even when you put a tackle in, the ball bounces off him when he comes out with it. But we did such a good job on him, and I'm confident we can do the same again in the second leg. Yeah,
I think one of the underappreciated things was how important Adoma was to that role as well, especially when Adoma was playing on the right and Hutton and Adoma on the left. Adoma tracked back every time, and there was a point when Codger came on, I remember saying, I hope that it's Grabban that goes on to the left, because I'd imagine he'll track back a little bit better, but by that point, Adama was on the left by that point anyway. How much of a good decision was that from Bruce to have Hutton swap sides when Traoré did as well, rather than just he swapped sides and then he gets joy against El Mohamadou, for example?
Obviously, I'm imagining that training in the week, everything was based around the fact that Hutton was the one marking Adama, so it made sense to do it. And I thought Elmo did a good job on the wrong side, and it's a shame that he's obviously picked up an injury that's probably going to keep him out, because we're quite short on fullbacks, especially people that can play left back at the moment, because you imagine Hutton's going to do the same job of following Adama. I've got a bit of a feeling that Pulis might move him to try and counteract that. I think he might maybe try and play him through the middle and be a bit more direct, which that could cause us problems, because obviously him running at Terry, he might struggle, but hopefully he doesn't do that and we continue to do a job on him.
I don't know if he's played in the middle at any point this season, but you'd think that he'll have another go at Hutton and see how he comes out this time. You'd think that some 20-year-old kid is going to get the better of mid-30s Alan Hutton at some point, but to be fair to him, he did a great job at the weekend.
I screamed back. I'll wait for that to finish.
So we'll talk a little bit about this upcoming game a little bit more now. The only decision that sort of contested a little bit before last game was whether it would be Whelan or Jedinak that came in, and obviously Jedinak comes in, plays really well, gets the goal as well. I think Bruce said something like it was harsh on Whelan how well he's played to drop him, but obviously you bring Jedinak in to be more defensive and he's the one that ends up getting the goal, so that's a perfect scenario for a manager. Coming into this game now, how high intensity that game was, would you expect Jedinak to keep his place, or does somebody like Whelan come back in now for the home tie?
I really don't know. It's a tough call, because Jedinak played last weekend. I think my heart tells me he'll probably keep it the same. And you'd imagine at times if Middlesbrough are chasing, they're going to be more direct, so it makes sense that Jedinak plays. Hopefully he's still got a lot left in the tank. And in these kind of games, I think because it's such a big game, players do find the extra that they need, even if they are tired. And I thought the midfield was very, very good on Saturday, especially defensively. I think we set the tone quite early. I mean, I think after the first few minutes, Hourihane smashed into someone, took ball and man, and I think we really showed our intent. I think Grealish put himself about as well, and obviously Jedinak was immense. I thought the midfield did a good job. I can't see him changing it, if I'm being honest. Obviously, he's probably going to have to make a change at fullback. I'd like to think that he'll put Bree in, because I'd rather see a proper fullback. I know Bjarnason ended the game at fullback. I think I'd rather see a proper fullback in there. And Bree's acquitted himself well against Bolton and Cardiff when he has had to come in. Both difficult circumstances, to be fair to him as well. So I think unless Taylor or Transibi's back, it will be Bree in for Taylor. No, sorry, not Bree for Taylor. Bree in for El Mohamed.
Yeah, I don't think Taylor or Transabi are either fit for this game. I think the only one that was talked about was El Mohamed, so I'm not sure for definite.
He's a big doubt.
But the one thing I was thinking about is that if Hutton plays left back again and Bree comes in on the right to replace El Mohamed, if it is the case that Hutton has to switch sides with Traoré like he did in the first leg, we've got that almost a bit of a coincidence that Bree has had to play left back this season anyway. So almost if he has to play right back or left back, you'd hope that he's come in before and done a job either side. So you'd hope that the same continues, that Bree comes in and fills in at right back to begin with. But if he has to swap, he can do a job left back as well.
Well, to be fair, our fullbacks have had to play on the other side this season because we've only had one proper left back all season, and he's been struggling for confidence and form. So like you say, they can both play right back, they can both play left back. So I don't see why you'd do anything else if it is that Elmo's out.
So obviously you were there, so can you talk to me a little bit about the whole thing with Codger and Hourihane? Because by the time it happened, I don't think Sky Sports were showing any of that, and there was a bit of talk on the radio that seemed to be a bit of a bust-up. So can you explain that from what you saw?
Codger, to me, he didn't look like he was putting it in as much as he could have been. I didn't think, and obviously Conor Hourihane felt the same and went up to him, and him and Chester went up to him to tell him to start putting it in, and Codger didn't react well to that news, and they did kind of go a little bit head to head, and Terry had to split it up. But I think everyone else was working so hard, and we know Codger, he can be a bit of a luxury player at times. He's a bit of an enigma, and obviously he was superb last season. He's probably a little bit frustrated, but when he came on, we needed him to help close out the game and close down, and I didn't really feel like he particularly did that. So I think Hourihane was right and Chester was right to go up to him and have a go, but he didn't react well to that at all. I mean, in those circumstances, I think Hogan probably would have been a better player to bring on, because at least he'll close people down, and that was what was needed. So it's probably all been forgotten since then, but Codger looked a frustrated figure to me, and in this leg now, you kind of think, would you trust him now to bring him on if it's tight to help see the game? Obviously, he's capable of magic. He's a very, very good footballer, but for the circumstances we found ourselves in on Saturday, he wasn't doing enough for me. I
think it was fair what Bruce said after, because obviously they didn't show it on Sky, so there was this talk on Twitter, and I think the radio mentioned that there was seemed to be a little bit of a argument, for want of a better word, and Codger didn't go to the fans or something like that. And then Bruce said, we've all got to remember that he's not barely played in the last 12 months and the fitness isn't quite there and all those sort of things. So that is the side that we as fans as well have to remember, that Codger isn't a player that's fully fit yet. He was a player that maybe makes an impact off the bench, but it's not certain that he comes on and makes an impact if you don't feel like he's putting the effort in. You've got the right to mention that as well.
It's just the fact that the others were really having to run themselves into the ground. They were doing a great job of containing Middlesbrough. Obviously, we were a bit too deep. I think we wanted to try and defend, but I don't know whether. I mean, Bruce said himself we were way too deep. But obviously, we went out there with a game plan in the second half. If Bruce is saying he's not fit, at that point we weren't attacking at all, so I suggest he probably shouldn't have been the one to come on in those circumstances. But Bruce has got the big decisions right in that game, playing Jedinak scored the winner, and again, the circumstances in Bruce's life at the moment are unthinkable, and it's great that the lads seem to get that win for him. Jedinak went over to him and said how important Bruce is. They want to do it anyway, but they want to do it for him. But I'd be tempted to have Davies on the bench, because he would have been ideal to bring on in those circumstances, because he would have held the ball up. He would have relieved a bit of the pressure like he did earlier on in the season for us, and he's got to be fresh because he hasn't really played for the last few months. So potentially he's a different option and maybe a better option off the bench for me.
So Middlesbrough centre-back Daniel Ayala came off with what looked like maybe a twisted knee or something like that. Came back on for a few minutes and then hobbled off again. I think Pulis said that he was having a scan at the hospital today. So if the player's having a scan, you'd think that meant bad news and that a player doesn't come in and play again on the Tuesday. So how big of a miss will he be for Middlesbrough and an advantage for Villa? 'Cause I think he scored 5 or 6 goals from set plays this year. So big miss for them.
Yeah, he's a decent Championship defender, Ayala. He's been a bit around the block in the Championship. He's been at a few clubs, and as you say, he scored a lot of goals this season. So I think they're probably missing more from that point of view, because I'd imagine he's in their top 4 or 5 scorers for them this season. So they'll have to have a bit of a rejig. But to be fair, they put Shotton at centre back and put Fabio on at right back, and Tom Julian at the game said the famous thing of Fabio's basically rubbish. And then he actually
thought that as well.
He actually came on and had a decent game, had a couple of chances for them. So they've got options to bring in. I mean, we forget Fabio started in the Champions League final for Man U against Barcelona at Wembley, so he obviously had something about him at some point. That I don't think he'll make too much difference to them defensively, but it is the fact that he's been a danger man from set pieces, and obviously, as we found out, you can nick a goal from set piece and it can change a game completely. So that's a good thing for Villa, I think, if he doesn't play.
So what do you think Villa's game plan is for this match then? Are we going to come out at home and try and get the second goal in the tie and kill it off? Or do we sit back and think, well, a draw is good enough, we'll try and break on the counter and soak up what Middlesbrough have got to offer?
I mean, I hope to God we don't sit back, because I've got to say, it was as much as it worked, and I was pleased with our resolute defending, it was a tough watch. It wasn't good for the old ticker at all. I think you go into the game and you treat it as if it's 0-0. You forget the first leg and you try and win the game, and if you try and win the game and you draw, we go through. So to me it makes no sense to sit back, and if we can get the first goal, that really, really puts the pressure on Middlesbrough. I mean, it'll be absolutely rocking again, and when it's been rocking, we've gone out there and we've attacked. I should say the atmosphere on Saturday was one of the best atmospheres I've ever been sat in.
Yeah, it sounded good on the TV.
Stood in for a Villa away game. It was absolutely unbelievable. Even like outside the ground, everything. It was just an unbelievable day. So we're very lucky to have been able to go to that. But again on Tuesday, the atmosphere is going to be something special. We thought the Wolves game was loud and the Blues game was loud. I think Tuesday will be twice that, because it is the stakes. And as I say, for people that weren't there, the feeling of being at the game, being the playoffs, it was a completely different situation to anything I've ever experienced. So even if by luck if we do make it through to Wembley as well, I cannot imagine what that will feel like, because it was I was so tense before the game, so nervy, and during it, like I say, I was shaking. So it's going to be some more scenes like that on tomorrow night, I'd imagine.
In the past on this channel, we've talked about midweek games. Sometimes the atmosphere isn't quite there, and obviously that won't be the case for this game. So how important is it to have that crowd on your backs? Obviously Middlesbrough are bringing 2,000. They'll be right behind their team. If it's that opening 10 minutes is a bit nervy and Middlesbrough had a couple of close chances and our fans have quieted down a bit, how important is it for the fans to keep up with it the whole game regardless of how the game starts? Because it makes a difference, doesn't it, to the players? The players will feel the effect of it.
There's no point getting on the backs at any stage. It won't achieve anything. And to be fair, the last home game was a full house against Derby. We were 1-0 down and trying to get back in the game, and the fans stayed with the team. So in the playoff semi-final second leg, I can't see that there's any chance that it'll be anything but the same if things aren't going our way. You've got to stay with them. You've got to stay off the pitch as well if things are going well, because you can't be celebrating a pitch invasion for a semi-final, because it just come back and bite you.
I was going to talk about that. Well, I thought about it, but I wasn't going to talk about it. Now you've mentioned it, we will. I was going to ask you where you sit on this whole pitch invasion or no pitch invasion thing. I imagined your answer would be no pitch invasion, but then I sort of get the other side of it when people are like, well, I'll celebrate how I want. If I want to run on the pitch, I can. So which one is it?
Well, anyone can do what they want at the end of the day. I can't.
But like a rubbish pitch invasion, like if only like a couple of hundred people do it or whatever relative it is, that looks rubbish. Like if everyone commits to it, at least that's something.
I respect everyone's opinion. I'm not saying my opinion is right at the end of the day. It's just my opinion. But if we do end up winning and we end up going through, I just think if you go and do a massive pitch invasion and then you lose in the final, you look silly. And also, nothing's won. You haven't won anything if you get through to Wembley. I've not seen many people agreeing with the pitch invasion on Twitter. In the main, I've seen people saying the same thing as me. It spoils it. I mean, I sit in the upper tier, obviously, but it spoils it for the people in the upper tier as well, because you don't get to celebrate with the players, because unless you're prepared to risk your life, you can't get on the pitch. If you're saying the whole end up, so there's many reasons. I just don't agree with it. If you win a final, I understand it. If we'd won the league, for example, and you go on the pitch, yes, fine. I completely understand that. But winning a semi-final second leg or potentially winning a semi-final second leg and potentially going through to Wembley, I wouldn't do it. But that's just me. Maybe I'm old and boring now.
We don't want to come on here and obviously say, oh, don't do this, do that, do this, because obviously everyone will do what they want. But we hadn't won anything against Albion when we did it in the quarter-final. So what happened there?
I think that season had been so bad up until that point, and it had been quite a giddy week, really, beating them twice. So,
well, I beat Middlesbrough twice in a week under Pulis again. It all lines up, Dan.
I didn't agree with that West Brom pitch invasion, if I'm being honest, but I could understand it. We've had a lot of good days this season and not gone on the pitch, so I just think it's the potential of it to come back and bite you. That's my main reason why I wouldn't recommend it. If you run on the pitch and then you lose in the final, you look silly. And I know if I saw another if Blues, for example, were in the playoffs and they pitch invaded a set for a semi-final, I'd be laughing at them and saying, look at them, what are they doing? And a lot of Villa fans would be as well. So you're opening yourself up if you do stuff like that, I think. But just my opinion.
No, I think I agree, but I just wanted to keep going down that rabbit hole and see what you'd come out with. So we'll end this preview with a prediction like we always do. Currently 1-0, as everyone knows. So Dan, what is it going to be? Wembley or not Wembley?
Yeah, I'm going to predict Wembley, aren't I? Because we're in a very strong position. Even you could see in Pulis' face, he knows we're in a strong position.
He said it as well.
And they're going to have to come out and attack us now to get back in the game. I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa. I think it'll be 1-1 for a long period of the game, and then Middlesbrough are going to have to bomb forward, and we'll end up catching them on the counter. So I'll go for 2-1 to Villa. First goal scorer, I will go with Jack.
You must be able to read my mind, because I was going to go Jack as well. Just can you imagine he pops in a goal like he did against Cardiff to take us to Wembley? But yeah, I'm going to go 1-0 again, I think.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the same pattern as you just said. It'll be 0-0 for a period of time. Middlesbrough come forward and we break 1-0. But yeah, Middlesbrough they've got a score, haven't they? So we're there to soak it up, counter when we can. But you never know if we start up and nick a goal in the first 10 minutes again. Could be a good night at Villa Park.
I mean, the first goal is obviously very important. If it goes in Middlesbrough's favour, it obviously levels it up. But again, we can afford to draw the game, so that's a positive for me. If it was to be like a derby game where you go the Derby County game, you go 1-0 down, you're absolutely pummeling them and you can't score, and you get a late goal and you draw, we're through. So that's a positive. But like you say, it's important. Even if we do go 1 down, you got to stay with the team and support them, because this is massive. It's the biggest game, I think, since I've been a Villa fan. That's it for today's match preview show. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. As I mentioned, Tom and I did do some filming for ABFC Official, so I'm hoping it's going to be a good video. It was certainly a lively and a tense one, so that should be out in the next few days. So give that a watch if you do see it pop up on one of Villa's channels. Tom and I will be in the podcast booth on Wednesday, hopefully celebrating Villa getting to Wembley, so look out for that. That'll be out on Thursday. As I say, we record on Wednesday. If you're not already subscribed to the Villa View with your post notifications on, and if you could do that, that would be absolutely brilliant. And comment below with your thoughts on the game, and don't forget to give the video a big old like if you have enjoyed it. Hopefully there's one more match preview to come. Fingers crossed, up the Villa. If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another? Click the video choices on screen now to go and watch them in full. Be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo there on the left. Easy peasy.